Hey, everybody, this is two EdTech guys take questions and share cool stuff. The last one, as it turns out, or the last one in this format, to be specific. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. If you didn't know that you could bring up captions in Google Slides, boom, there you go. Now we have captions. It'll be one really long sentence, but there you have it. Thank you very much for joining us. We think it's awesome that you're deciding to spend a little bit of time with us, whether that's live as we do this shindig right now, or if you're watching the recording. And so anybody who registered will get an email from me with info about that, including the slides and the links and such. Richard, tell us a little bit about this.
freetechforteachers.com. It turned 15 last week. 15 years, 17,000 blog posts about all manner of interesting EdTech things, and some that maybe are not so interesting to most people, but I find them interesting anyway. So I still write about them. And like I said the other day, I don't know what I would do if I wasn't blogging. So just keeps on chugging along.
Well, you do it well, my friend. So awesome. My little shindig, this second time I've used that word in the last few, is a nonprofit called Vista for Learning. The main thing it does is a library of videos by and for teachers and students everywhere, free to use, free to contribute to, free to download from, all for a student audience, all screened content, my own little attempt to save the universe from ignorance, one creative video at a time. So if you're kind of curious about highlighting student work and have it in a space where there's no ads and no registration and no tracking, talk to me. All right, so the whole thing about changing the format. So we've been doing this for 2.5 years, right? Like almost 3, as it turns out. And we're going to shift it up just a little bit to where we kind of record these things and punch them out so that a little bit easier, perhaps on everybody. But let us know if you kind of have an opinion on that. We're curious what you might think. But the whole thing about this little show is that we answer questions. At least that's part of it. And Richard, I believe we have some questions that we can answer.
We do. The first one is one that I just made a note about to remind myself about tomorrow. Anyway, it was this. Our district recently moved away from Promethean Active Inspire to another platform. It's going well and teachers are fine, except they're missing the reveal tool in Active Inspire. It's like a black window shade that you can pull down to gradually reveal what's underneath. Do you happen to know of an extension that would do that? Or if not, have an idea for a way to simulate that type of tool? I've got a few things up my sleeve for this. Well, 2 really, not a few, two things. Number one, TinyTap. TinyTap is an app and a website that has that capability if you build it into one of the activities. You know, it's not like an on the fly type of thing. You have to do some planning, but they have that capability built in there. So check out TinyTap. That's one option. The other thing I thought about is you could just use the transitions and animations features that are in Google Slides or PowerPoint. And when you tap, you have, the object revealed, right? You can just kind of layer up one object on top of another. And then when you hit the space bar or you click, boop, one of those things slides away. So you could do that. And Rushton, did you have an idea too?
I did. Go ahead and stick TinyTap into the chat there. We'll get that on the links page. But 2 thoughts. One is, as I very much like Richard's suggestion about using slides effectively, so where essentially you have one slide with an extra rectangle on it, and then the next slide is that same one, and you transition from the first set. That's a great suggestion. Depending on your operating system, it may be that you can move a window around without a bunch of extra showing. So for example, maybe your video player will show a video, but without a set of kind of things at the top, the toolbar. That's the hard word I'm going for. All right, and if you have that, you could actually move that around. So you could create a video that is like 3 seconds long, and it's nothing but a black screen, and then just move that as you need. If it's something other than slides that you're trying to hide. So maybe that could work as well.
Yeah, cool.
Yep.
All right, let's ready for the next one.
Yep.
All right. And you came up with a good answer to this one that I had kind of forgotten about, overlooked. Do you happen to know of any resource, program, website that adjusts readability levels? For example, a story written on 4th grade level needs to be adjusted to a 1st grade level. Is there anything that you know of that will do that? My first thought was ReadWorks, readworks.org. Has lots of articles that are indexed according to reading level or grade level. So that's one option. And Rushton, you had another idea.
I did. So if you are looking for kind of the same thing, but to be able to do it with news stories, Newsela, NEWSELA.com is a long-standing and accomplished tool on that front for saying, hey, I want this at the 11th grade level, or I want this at the 2nd grade level, or just, it kind of has these kind of different ways of getting into it. But pretty cool tool.
Yeah, I'll put that in the chat as well.
Mhm.
And Newsela is been around for a while, and ReadWorks, not necessarily not news, but covers a wide array of topics. And that was Newsela just chiming at me actually as I put it in the link. Can you tell me more what you're looking for? When I visited the Newsela link. All right. Let's do one more question.
Yep.
All right. Let's do another one here as soon as I can get it back up. There we go. All right. I love this question. This is from Jill. Got right to one of my passions, and that's copyright. I require my students to use the Explore button in the lower right-hand corner of slides, docs, and sheets for their image search. With Explore, the images come with the URL attached and the links to the original source. However, there are times, as in Google's My Maps, that Explore is not an option and students have to use the Google image search. Are those images in the public domain? It seems to me that the search results are very similar between Explore and Google Images. So I actually made a video about this. I'll put that in the chat in just a bit. But here's the thing about Google Images. When you go to images.google.com, by default, it serves up whatever it can find. And the other thing that you have to keep in mind is that Google Images, especially when we're talking about the kids, remind kids, Google Images is not the host of the image. They're just the search engine showing you all the pages where these images are found. And you need to click through to see where that image is actually hosted, and then go there to verify that, yes, you actually do have the rights to reuse that picture. You can filter in Google Images for Creative Commons licensed pictures, but you still need to verify that. I always say, don't just rely on what Google Images says you can reuse. Actually verify it. Click through to the source and verify that. And I know Rushton loves to talk about copyright too, so I'll let him rant for a minute.
So this is, anytime you're doing a lesson where you've got activities related to pulling in media, you've got two lessons. You've got whatever it is that your lesson is about and what it means to handle intellectual property properly, right? Which is a function also of just citing your sources well, right? So there are certainly tools out there where it's just not clear. Like they say, oh yeah, this is all legal to use, and maybe they provide a link. But the link itself doesn't do one of the two things that any citation should. So one is to provide a path back to where you found the piece. The link does that. The other is to recognize the person responsible for the work. The link doesn't really do that, because now you're sending people on, to have to do it. And so I'm very much in the space of if I can't tell, I don't use it. And I do think there are enough tools out there like Unsplash and Pixels and Pixabay, although some of those images are maybe complex for the good discussions you'd have. The photos for class.com. I mean, there are enough tools out there where you can find good things and also have students kind of easily pull these citations together. So there we go with that. And speaking of images, this might be a perfect segue to the cool thing that Richard identified for the December 2022 show.
Yeah, one of the best segues we've ever done, Rushton.
Yeah,
Image Candy. Image Candy, imgcandy.com. I'll put the link in the chat. And, there's nothing particularly remarkable about what it does other than it does it well and cleanly. All these tools you see on the screen there, image converter, adding text, cropping the images, making a meme out of your own pictures, all those things. It does it quickly. You don't have to sign up or sign in. There's no registration. And when I used it, I didn't come across any big splashy pop-up banner ads or anything like that. It was just a clean, simple, easy to use website. That's all it is. It's just nice and easy. Don't sign up or sign in. Just use it.
and I love simplicity. I'm always kind of into that space of like, hey, this is a simple site to use. It does what it does well. We're always kind of in that space of, well, how do they make their money, right? What is it that it does? And so when we look at these things, we're asking that question as well. Hope you will on any tools you're looking for. And if you ask about this particular resource, you'll find that they make their money with no relation to tracking or ads or anything like that, like I mentioned earlier. So this is on my site. I'm actually like explaining something that I put out there because why not? So the Next Vista Inspiring Videos. This is a set. I've put together at least 50 of these at this point, where I've found some very cool, short, very cool video online. And what I do is on that page, I will add just kind of an intro and some questions, the idea is to give you a go-to activity that you can just say, all right, I've got an activity ready to go. We're going to do a little discussion on this video after everybody's watched it, or as a homework or something like that. I will say that anytime you are looking for video material, you should always watch it yourself before assigning it to students. That's just a good idea. But we got lots in here. This is, matter of fact, in November, I got to plug this. In November, we had 4 in a row that were all kind of built around gratitude, right? And this one about called Hair Love was the name of the video. Beautiful animated story. It'll totally warm your heart to watch it. As is this one about using certain kinds of tools to help Alzheimer's patients kind of rediscover memories and things. There's somebody and he tells about Dwayne Johnson, tells about like connecting with a teacher in high school, and that's one of those good feel-good stories for any teacher. And my favorite rapper, Matt Maxey, the deaf rapper, who there's so much about the way he approaches communication that teaches us all, hearing impaired and without such impairments, can really stop and think about how we look at the world in new ways. And that I just think that's really, really cool. So go ahead and take a look if you're ever just kind of in that space of like, I need a good thing to look at. I just need something that'll make me smile because I just had a conversation that didn't, because that happens. Then feel free to give that a look.
Yeah. And let me just give Rushton's site another plug, because if you're ever like thinking, I need an idea for a project for my class, that's a good place to go. I mean, and folks who follow my newsletter know that I've shared some of my favorite Next Vista videos over the years, because you're ever like, what would I want this to look like in my classroom? Like, what would I want my kids to make? Check out some of the stuff on Next Vista for Learning. And one of the things I always say about the Next Vista for Learning videos is that, like, it's not a video production contest, right? Like, there are contests, but it's not about will appear on the big screen for an Oscar. It's about, does it give a good message? Does it tell this story? Does it tell a lesson? Yeah, it does. And maybe it's, and it's like, it's real kid projects. That's the thing. I think it's just really great examples of authentic kid projects and teacher projects. And I think a lot of times we go to a conference and we see, this awesome project that's up on the screen. And it's like, that's the one out of 100 that was like spectacular. Let's talk about the 80 that were just really good, but not spectacular, right? Like I love people looking at that too. So that's
Well,
a
right.
compliment.
And matter of fact,
I'm doing a very poor job of saying why I like looking at these videos, but yeah.
no, all good. I just tossed another link into the chat. I'll stick it in the links page as well. I created this doc years ago called NV video sets, right? So these are all student created videos. And so some of them are things where they narrated art or slides. Some of them are stop motion. Some of them are acted out in particular ways. The idea is to put different kinds of videos in front of the students and to allow them to watch, say, 3 or 4 that they picked just because they thought the titles were interesting. And then talk about them, like, would you want to make a video like that? Because so many teachers, when they introduce a video project, they'll show an example and then everybody's trying to memorize just that one example, which is not the goal, right? You don't want to watch 30 of the same thing, right? You want to get a lot of different creative juices flowing with your students.
All right. Well, speaking of video, hey, here's a good segue.
Nice.
Speaking of video, here's a question about video. It came from Diane, who saw my tutorial on Adobe Express, the one that I made about skiing with my family. And she's trying to create a video to share with her students. The trouble is she can't get the audio to work correctly. When I record my voice, the playback is scratching and jerking. It speeds up and stops and speeds up again. I tried with my school computer, with my home computer. Both recordings were bad. My microphone seems to be right. I refreshed, recorded, closed out, reopened, asked Google for help. Nothing so far. Can you help me figure out what's going on with my sound? How can I fix it? Well, I got to tell you, and I told Diane, I have had that happen to me in the past. And when it's happened, it's come down to one of two things. Number one, when I was recording, I was experiencing some low bandwidth on my network. And so what that means is that, yeah, I'm recording, but the way that it's getting uploaded is scratchy and jerky, and therefore is not, then when it's played back, it's not, the file is basically not complete. So that's one thing that's happened. And the other thing is sometimes it's just out of your control. Sometimes, you're using a cloud-based tool, a web-based tool, and there's something scratchy, jerky going on their end. And when I've gone back and done it again later, problem solved. But usually what I would say is, check your bandwidth, check what your upload speed is, and then try again. That's what I've done in the past when I've had some troubles with Adobe Spark, now known as Adobe Express. But Rushton, you had a good idea too. You use Adobe Express a lot more than I do, or Adobe Spark a lot more than I do. So
I love Express.
Yeah.
That's great. But in thinking about the question from Diane, all right, first, one possible explanation is that you've got the unfortunate habit of when you are working, say, on a laptop, you put your hands on like one of the cables, right? So if you have like your hands on like the power cable or something like that, and you're just kind of doing that, that may actually cause the problem, which is not completely intuitive, but that'll do that. But when I looked at the question, I was thinking about the issue of troubleshooting, because it's a troubleshooting opportunity here, right? And it's like, you did something interesting. You tried this on your school computer and you tried it on your home computer. It happened in both, all right? Which is like, okay, that would suggest that it's not the computer, but it could be the account. So I would say that 2 other things you can try to try to figure out if you happen to have similar issues, or maybe there was an aspect of this that you didn't notice was the same or whatever, would be to check the microphone using a different online tool. I mean, I think this is real similar to what Richard said a minute ago. SpeakPipe has this cool like online voice recorder thing that you can use just to check the sound, and you don't even need to create an account, which is beautiful. And if you find that the microphone works well, then you've eliminated one of the problems. But kind of go into it with that thing. How many different problems can I eliminate? If somebody else got onto Adobe Express on the same machine and jumped in their account, would they end up with the same thing, but not on their machine at home, which might mean you have bandwidth issues both at home and at school? Hopefully not. But use it as a troubleshooting possibility there, because that's a really interesting question from Diane. I think we got one more. Yeah, Richard?
We got one more. And I would not have thought of, I didn't even think about the cable thing, Rushton. That's I didn't think about that. But
Style
makes
points.
sense. All right. We've got one more question. That was sent in advance, and it came from Lisa Ann. And I love this one because it gets back to the heart of how this whole thing got started, at least for me, and how Rushton and I ended up meeting eventually. Anyway, hi Richard. I wonder if you have an idea for a classroom blog I'd like to do with my middle schoolers. A platform on which I can blog a topic or question to which students can respond, but I want to approve their responses before they're published. I used to do this on Weebly, but that platform is now blocked for students in my district. I looked at EduBlogs, but found it difficult to navigate. Any tips or suggestions? Well, yeah, so full disclosure, I like EduBlogs. I like the people at EduBlogs. Sue Waters, I've known for a long, long time. Love Sue. Ronnie Burt, who used to be there. James Sanders, great people. Not James Sanders, James Farmer. Sorry, James. Anyway, love those folks. But yeah, it's based on WordPress, and so there are some navigation hurdles. There's a learning curve there. It's a little steeper than other platforms like Weebly. That said, if you are committed to the blogging idea, you could look at Blogger. You could look at Squarespace. One of those platforms, card.co, CARRD.co. Another option that I like, but I would start with this. Does the blog have to be public? Do you want it to be a public platform whereby parents and other people can read the students' comments once they're published? If that's what you're looking for, then yes, you need to blog. You need some kind of public facing platform, right? If you don't need that public facing aspect, or you don't want that, so you don't want parents, you don't want grandparents, you don't want random looky loos on the internet reading the comments, then using something like just the announcements feature in Google Classroom could work, or the messaging format in Canvas, not Canva, Canvas. That might work, right? What's in your LMS? Point being, whatever's in your LMS, where you can post a topic and have students respond to it, that might work if you don't need that public-facing discussion element. And Rushton, you kind of had I think a similar idea for that.
Yeah, so obviously the system that you used before had kind of everything set so that it would just work quickly, which is what you were going for. If you don't mind spending a little more time, you get a lot of control over what is and isn't public using just Google Drive, right? So if you use a Google form, you've got that spreadsheet that results that results as a function of the answers coming in. And you can kind of go down and you can pick out ones, just like click on the cell, copy it, move over into a doc or a slide, paste it. And if you get good at paste without formatting and matching target formatting and things like that, you could quite quickly come up with some really nice example, say, slides that could themselves be resources for the future if you need them as prompts for discussions in class, or you want to quickly bring up an answer somebody gave a long time ago. You've got all of that, kind of within Google Drive space. And then that's something you can choose to share just with the classroom, or, to make kind of publicly viewable by anybody. I mean, there's ways you could use those kinds of tools for it. And so I consider that an option as well.
Yeah. And I also said Seesaw does have a blogging component, kind of,
Mhm.
where you can take the best of your students' responses or the best of their contributions to the journal and put them into a blog, a public facing blog. So there is an option there as well. But again, I would come back to that idea of, does it have to be public? Does everything have to be public, or are you really just looking for that conversation piece between
Right.
students? So
Cool. Well, last little thing to share with you guys, and this actually is a bit of a double, given that I promoted the Next Vista Inspiring Video prompts with my share, but this week's is about time, and there's this kind of cool video with lots and lots and lots of jelly beans, and each jelly bean represents a day, and so it looks at some different things, like, okay, you spend this many days of your life doing this and this and this, and it's just kind of a visually cool way of thinking about time. So I hope that this is one that you go to the NVIV pages and you take a look and you share that, because great video. Now, there are a couple of different newsletter possibilities you get from hanging out with two EdTech guys, one of which is my monthly one, and I give away a Starbucks card every month, one or more, and so feel free to take a look every month when I send that word out, and say, hey, I'm up for that one. I just ask you to watch a video and share something that you see or something along those lines. Written some books. The books are designed to make the world a better place, so feel free to jump on that as well. And speaking of good books, there is the Practical EdTech Handbook, which I highly recommend, and we'll let Richard talk about in more detail.
Yeah, sign up for my newsletter, which comes out on Sunday evenings or Monday morning, depending on your time zone and my sleep schedule. Yeah, it's a highlight of some of my favorite EdTech tools of the year, and I update it every start of the school year. So check that out. Just sign up for my newsletter. I'll send you a copy of that. I also have an ebook for tech integrators, tech specialists, librarians, anybody who's asked the last minute, hey, can you do a Tech Tuesday or a tech workshop for us? Yeah, check out my ebook, 50 Tech Tuesday Tips. It gives you lots of ideas for running a quick little after school workshop type of thing. Check out my YouTube channel, the world's most boring YouTube channel. It has 43,000 subscribers watching me do screencasts about all kinds of different things. And
I love that the caption took screencasts and made it screen gasps. That's
well,
that's when you're really surprised about what happens in the video. Right. That's such a good idea. Right. Well, guys, there you go. You have now hopefully taken away several cool ideas, maybe solved a problem or two. You've got some cool stuff you want to try out. You will hear from me soon if you registered for this. I will get that email to you in the next day or so. And we will come back in 2023 with a bit of a new format on it, but just watch our newsletters for info. And we welcome your thoughts along these lines as well. If there's something that you're like, hey, is there a possibility you could add this or that to it? We would be very happy to kind of take a look at whatever you have to say and work that into our thinking. Richard, excellent to see you as always. I hope you have a wonderful, December. The different holidays are coming and all that kind of cool happenings.
Yep. Gonna be great.
All right, everybody, take care. We will see you in 2023.